남게 파방님의 신경 탐지 일로 차차신도 고방하고 그러자 이 제도 차차신도 남서 남바 탐지 차차신도 남무제를 바탐지 만화와 수신도 남서 남바 지구 남도 고방상주 초도 투제대 담배 출산발쇼.
At this point, we can think of that all sentient beings, limitless in number, as space is without any limit, should have the chance to recognize their basic nature of mind, Mahamudraprayer. And to contribute to this goal, I may decide here and now that I myself want to go through the process of training of Mahamudraprayer through all the various steps without any error. With this noble motivation in mind, Bodhicitta requests that we may listen to him.
지금 순박 시가 송주기 난줄기 생진난강대다. 생진난강대고 그때마다 그네 시가 송주기 송주 주술 최전 시바인데 다들 한번 생진난강대 이제 자원들의 차저치 타당 타와 우마천부이 근데 군주 적신 세상자 즉시 군주 또의 링토쇼.
Now, in the process of wishing for the recognition of Mahamudraprayer, beyond the mere understanding, we were in the process of the taking it into practice. We have seen that this consists of the process of shamatha, the peaceful abiding of mind, and the process of vipassana, to see the basic nature. And also, it was already announced that there's another point of showing the union of the process of shamatha and vipassana. In this now, there are 2 points. For one, there is a root verse showing the actual union of shamatha and vipassana, and there is an additional explanation that is only in the commentary to be found and not represented by the root verse. So, coming to the actual union of shamatha and vipassana, the verse says, without taking influence in the mental operation, this is Mahamudraprayer. Free from any extreme idea or opinion, this is the great middle, Mahamadhyamaka. That within this everything is contained is the great completion, Dzogchen. May the confidence dawn in my mind that knowing one means to realize everything.
다들 당부 이제 자원들의 차저치 스웨告诉 때는 닐 현직집이 단 이술 치지 마로 바야는 당을 고용도 대다 때는 장부를 똑바로 내배 똑바로 소파 상도면도 하다 인수시에 이를 제바람 타와 이를 자주주의 이를 제바 타와 많이 봐. 이 코로나 때문에 이를 이를 제바 마두바함 만에 비치나 이제 타와 대다 때는 자세히 못합니다.
Coming to the first point, demonstrating the union of shamatha and vipassana, with the example of Mahamudraprayer. It says, free from any taking influence in mental operation, this is Mahamudraprayer, great seal. And it means that when the basic nature of mind, the natural state of mind, is recognized, there is no any mental activity contained in there as making the difference between good to be attained and bad to be avoided, something to be improved or to be diminished. In fact, there is nothing in this primordial, basic, natural state of mind that is missing, so nothing has to be improved, and there's no mistake in there, so nothing has to be removed. So naturally, resting within the natural state of mind, there is no such mental operation as taking influence and trying to improve or diminish something contained. It's not that outwardly now we just stop our process of taking influence, but in the natural state of mind, there's a need for that, and there is something like this. In the natural state of mind, there is no taking influence and trying to improve and to diminish something. So in that sense, the recognition of Mahamudra is free from any manipulation and influencing mental operation.
그럴 때는 대신 방목하게 상도 멘도 탐지군 이해를 이제 찾으시. 상도 강도 탐지 이해를 이제 맞는 찾으시는 것인 거가 인수나.
The statement from the great master Phagmo Drupa shows the same point, saying, by all thoughts of good and bad, be motivated through all thoughts of good and bad, to be free of the taking influence in mind by any thought of good and bad, this is Mahamudra. So it's the same point here that shows that normally taking influence is happening by the ideas of good and bad. Free of that is Mahamudra.
그는 타당자가 우마천부 인스타 생긴는 방식과 양도주의 그런데 이거 나온데 다 통제가 잘하나 그는 우마천부 양도주의. In
another way, we can express the same basic reality of mind with different terms. We can refer to this natural state of mind as saying that this is the state of reality that is free of any extremes, any preconception and any extreme thought or opinion about it. Thus, it is a great middle. So saying the great middle or Mahamudraprayer is just another expression for the same basic nature of mind.
그냥 대신 방목하게 딱히 로그를 나서 타당자를 구만 다봐 제바 요바나 드론도 봐 내가나 구원 내가나 속에 다 탐지가 잘하나 우마천 보신 거
The same great master Phagmo Drupa expresses this here and says, being free of any idea of permanently there or totally extinguished, exaggeration and denial. Free of all this it is the great middle.
그는 니네 군주 조선 시대자 다 조고 청부시는 양도 주고 그래서 나 고아다니는 이제 저 탐지 관계는 조과 그런 거 참. 계제는 제가 지금
Now, then even this very basic nature, natural state of mind, we can refer to with the term absorption of great completion. Why? Because this very basic state of mind is the basis for everything. Everything is contained in there. All the appearances of the seeming world of suffering arise from this as well as the world beyond suffering. Samsara and Nirvana equally originate in the basic state of mind. Thus, everything is completed in there, and we could call it the great completion doctrine.
대행한 대시 방목주에 고단양의 대비추 선수적인 정신 고단양의 대비추 탐지 마상원 내가 정신지 예는 정황 정신지 예는 싸워 이미지는 정보 전문가.
The great Phagmo Drupa expresses it in the way saying, since all the qualities of this world of suffering as well as beyond suffering, samsara and nirvana are equally contained in mind itself, then this is called the great completion doctrine.
즉시 군둔독의 능톱쇼 다 들을 때는 즉시 군둔독 대신이 이네수 친지만로 봐 양답하는데 찍부시나 들을 때는 군대에 주 탐지게 좀 하기 싫고 릴레이션을 하고 말해 상황으로 내가 우리 즉시 돈은 이 비행아 주 탐지들 당신이 도망 당신이 사태.
So then the last line says, may the confidence dawn in my mind that by knowing one, everything is realized. This shows that just by merely knowing this one thing, which is the basic nature of my own mental operation, my own mind, then means to realize everything. Everything is contained there. Just to know this one crucial point reveals the truth of everything. It's not necessary that I will be introduced to the basic nature of every single phenomenon. Just knowing the one essence of mind reveals everything.
다디 저는 천지는 방도 같은 정성아 다 초전 때는 시나 송도 요소데 때문에 내가 그래 그래서 시내 공부 시내를 담보야고 때문에 시내의 공부를 다 친척을 가서나 방송이 이시기 와요 강점진의 방송이 이시 대당 때문에 시내지 띵지 로념도 주나 로념 마음 예의시 봐 주네 이오면 또 투는데 가서나 로념 마음 송도 주 봤어.
So this has been the introduction into the union of samatha and vipassana, pointing to it by various different terms, giving synonyms for what this union could be called. And the commentary goes a little bit further on to explain about how to reach this state of the union of samatha and vipassana. This is actually quite simply explained. Since first of all we train ourselves in the process of peaceful abiding, which means mind or awareness rests within itself. And once we have become ripe by this process for the deep insight, then it will be that the recognition of the basic nature of vipassana will happen. And when this wisdom, the primordial wisdom or primordial awareness of vipassana dawns, it also recognizes the one taste of the peaceful abiding and the recognition of nature. So here then truly both have melted into one. This is the true union of samatha and vipassana.
다디 전다비 대다와 또베기 강사되기 드는 명상이 내가 소 드는 신의 방송을 만들 파대 도미기 뭐냐요.
Now for an individual who has reached this stage, within the sitting in exercise and meditation, there is no such difference anymore between peaceful, abiding, and recognizing the nature. They have all become one taste.
근데 양념샤도 제대로 계산해서는 너네 근데 신화 순종을 사탕보를 놓고 신화 순종을 근데 사탕보는 데네 다 신화 뭐 사탕보를 내면 되네 야채네 근데 양재 만들게 봐도 상제가 사는 양재들이 양재 만들게 봐도 근데 양샤가 가서나 남을 믿고 되지는데 예전에 가서 근데 시추라고 나도 지금 시작하고 주당들이 나는 문제 양지 소수요. 근데 상제를 가서나 근데 양지 뒤pun자가.
If you wonder at what stage this will be reached along the path, as we know, the genuine vipassana, the seeing of the basic nature, is only happening at the first boom, at the very end of the path of junction, then in leaping over into the path of seeing, there the genuine vipassana happens. And now we also understand that the true union between shamatha and vipassana is then only taking place at this very moment. For a bodhisattva proceeding along the bodhisattva bhumis from the first to the 10th, and the wisdom that sees the suchness of phenomena is increasing along the path, but still, although in the very sitting in meditation there is a union of shamatha and vipassana, there is still a difference between that period of sitting and exercise and the breaks in between. There's a difference between sessions and breaks. It only happens at the moment of reaching full enlightenment of the Buddha that then finally there is no difference between sessions and breaks anymore.
뒤로다 똑주 제베 셰라티 대답 가동선 탕에다가 말도 가동을 양샷 남을 도비시 하나만 말도 가동을 말해 그냥 얘도 뒤가서 똑주 제베 셰라티가 양 가동선 탕이 주지.
Now we should know that all the thought-related process of intelligence that scrutinizes the appearances to find reality is not able to really recognize reality. It is only the primordial awareness, when it spontaneously dawns, that can recognize reality as such. However, in between the sessions, when we engage ourselves in the thinking process of intelligence to try to find out what reality is, this can be very conducive to the understanding of reality. It is something that can approximate the reality. It is a lookalike vipassana. It's not the real vipassana, but it's a lookalike vipassana that becomes very supportive, conducive for the recognition of reality.
Oh yeah, that is right. That is the Nyamdo Jesu. 다 냠도 제소 때나 냠당 도원이 해야 돼. 지당 냠세야 돼. 여보 삼다 마시나 담도 도바는 많이 돼요. 이거 도바 많은 하나 되는 도바들이 다른 되는 냠시. 그러나 아주 매 마투 콘서트하고 저기로 내가 뒤라고 되는 냠당 되는 매당 저것도 도바. 어제 지금 도바.
So now, to proceed further along in our wish for the recognition of Mahamudra, to come to what is called the wish for the experience and realization to gradually dawn. As the terms already indicate, there's a difference between experience and realization. And also, just there it becomes clear that there is a danger to mistake an experience for the realization. That's naturally bound to be like this, because in the experience that happens along our process of training, we perceive signs of that which is only the field of knowledge of recognition. It only will be understood by realization. Those signs that approach are compared to, let's say we are looking for fire, and we come nearer to the fire, we experience the warmth. So the warmth of the fire is not the fire yet, but we know that we are coming closer to the fire. But only when we burn ourselves, then we know we have reached the fire. Before it was only the experience of warmth.
그냥 다 지금 Milarepa 냠나비 담자데 야는 거 똑바는 거 담자데 유원해. 그래서 냠는 나비 낚시래. 이거 똑바로 제스를 거는 냠나고. 똑바는 남과 담자거리. 그니 유원해 봐. 제가면 그래서 나도 야는 거 똑바는 거 담자데 유원해.
Talking about this point, Milarepa says, the various experiences are like the clouds of fog or mist, who vanish in just one instant. Realization is like space itself, without further change. Indicates that during the process of our exercise, the side effects of the various experiences will arise, but Milarepa clearly marks here that those are not of any lasting quality. They are like the mist in the morning that just in one instant can fade away and totally disappear. But the true, genuine realization is like space. Once it took place, it will never change again.
다들 다 문양데 신반 매배 대신 준지매 천지 매배 외설 지교차 논된 대변매도 tun지쪽 소명으로 준지 매버쇼
The subjective one is the tentative.
다디 가상 뭐라야 뒤에와 차라 시간을 나죠 그런 양도 제소 되네 동인지 소유는 순자의 잡지 순자 뒤에
Die kan ga lamjeren wat die kaza namen manover lamen.
오 뒤에 그러나 많이 좀 공연거나 자좀 찍어줘. 다음 주에 되는 거는
Die niet daarom niet wel de mind om combineren de
뒤런데 많이 좀 공연해.
So to remind ourselves of the structure of this wish for the recognition of Mahamudra, we know that first of all we wished for the true understanding of what the reality is, and then for going into the experience of it. And this was expressed by one verse in the earlier third of the wish of prayer, saying, by having cut through all the exaggerations and misconceptions about the underlying basic nature, may you have the confidence of the view to rest within that without distraction is the crucial point of meditation or exercise. And that this reality will not finally dawn in all aspects of my life, but this is the genuine or the supreme way of activity, conduct. May all of these, the proper view, the meditation and the conduct be experienced finally. So now we are here in the second process still, which is the wish for the path of the training by resting without distraction in the view. And here there were three major points. The first is the process of shamatha and vipassana, which is the actual training. And secondly, it is how experience and realization arises through this process of shamatha and vipassana. And thirdly, it is the wish for that we may recognize the union of compassion and emptiness. Okay, we're in the second of this, which is how experience and realization may arise, as already announced. And then the verse says like this: without taking for true and being clinging to it, the great bliss will be an uninterrupted flow. Without holding on to concepts and characteristics, luminous clarity will be unobscured. The not thinking, the absence of thinking or not thinking, which is beyond any mental, intellectual activity, is spontaneously present. May I continuously experience this process, which is without any effort.
다들 당고 신방면도 대신 중심 매세야디 현차도 차례. 현차도 차례 대화 전부 중심이군요.
The first sentence clarifies an essential point, saying, without taking for true and holding on to it, the great bliss is continuous stream. So if we are free from this habit of clinging and holding on to it, without any interruption, we will be in the state of great bliss.
드니니바데 친진매베 벌써 디벼 타워스. 딜라베告诉유라 사만진바단 차례. 유라 친진단 차례 랑리우 벌써 디벼단 차례.
The next line says, free from conception, the luminous clarity is unobscured. And conception is what is like the concept process of our perception, where in the rough and coarse sense we think of the various characteristics of objects like red, green, and round and square and so on. But in the more subtle sense, it means that when we enter the state of unmoving mind, in a state of peaceful abiding, in such an absorption of mind, we perceive characteristics of that state of absorption. And to hold on to those characteristics of the experiences that come along with this peaceful abiding of mind, then is the very subtle process of conceptual clinging. Free of that conceptual clinging, then it says the luminosity of mind, the clarity of mind is unobscured.
落人这个宇宙分之中，落一具有他们讲这边被落一具有他的人这边，可能那么宇宙上东方你分之中的。
The third line says the beyond intellect, not thinking is spontaneously present. It's talking about awareness that recognizes which itself is not a thinking process. So it's a non-thinking awareness that takes place. It's a non-thinking awareness because it is beyond all the normal process of mental operation that we entertain as our intellect during our perception of the seeming world. So beyond this worldly type of intellect, it is a non-thinking awareness, and this happens spontaneously.
다들 균수미 알아봐. 균수보다 자신감 제배 되어 있는. 때문에 천진단 제배로서 인고를 천진매 봤을 때도 소식으로 천진단 제배로서 때문에 나도 동 제배. 근데 number toba jibe ge tene re la number ta jiba re 진正的jiba wa sa dang number sa de ko su be de le su wa ndu shi da jiba ndu shi da jiba le su wa ge tene tong ba ko ti ti me to ba de dong su le si zu le gong ji ma ni jing sa ju wa le ji zuo le su wa dang le jibe ndu shi dang ta gu yu le su wa da jiba number toba da jibe ge gong di yang zhen de jiba
Now, all those lines now point to three mistakes. The first one says, like, if we are endowed with great longing and desire, then holding on to this, taking that for true, it will naturally interrupt the flow of well-being, of bliss. So if in the meditation we experience various states of bliss and well-being, and we try to hold on to that, this is one mistake. The second line says, the mistake is if we are involved in the conceptual process and taking the characteristics of things for truth, this will obscure the natural precision and clarity of mind. And the third one says, it's the process of thought itself. And this points to an earlier verse where it was said to be free from the stains of a training or meditation that is a intellectually produced effort. So if by the process of thought we try to make a training, a familiarization happening, that's not the real training. So this very thinking-induced exercise is the third mistake that is pointed out here.
第一个呢，恰现在这个联想前呢，第一这步，真正的很是结完因素嘛的。现在真正的这个有少过呢，第一这步送很是结完，真的乐从我们到观察过呢，这个真正这步送没看到结完因素的。
So those three lines also point to three sidetracks or traps of the exercise of Mahamudra. If the side effects of the exercise of Mahamudra, like great bliss, happen and we cling to the reality of that and hold on to it, by continuously holding on to that experience of bliss, the final result will be that you will be born as a god in the desire realm. And when in the exercise of Mahamudra natural clarity happens, we cling on to this clarity as the various characteristics that we seem to see there, and we hold on to that. The result will be to be born as a god in the form realm. And thirdly, if we stubbornly cling to an idea of reality or emptiness that we intellectually induce, so we have the intellectual effort, thought-bound effort to always think that reality has to be like this type of emptiness and so on, then the result will be that we get stuck in the realm of the formless gods.
第一个呢，对话稍微没多被娘们送进中度的热话呢，马上我们都帮来吧，热度才嘛都基本上是帮人，真的，你们让如果装了，真的不是具体的，像这种。
So what to do when, as the side effect of our training in Mahamudra, we experience those three states as a blissful state, clarity, or non-thought? Then the advice is to not hold on to that as entertaining the hope that may this clarity, may this joy, may this non-thinking process happen. Nor to be engaged in the fear of that bliss, clarity, or non-thought could happen. Being free of hope and fear to that, dropping the concern, this is the advice to train the exercise of Mahamudra. So as has been announced, there were two steps to this major point, the experience of meditation and the realization. Coming to the realization now, it says, all the clinging to the experience as taking for true the positive, liberated in its own place. All the evil types of thinking, the confusion, pure in the open expanse of the natural state. the ordinary mind, free of something to do, to adopt, or to abandon, may the realization dawn of the genuine nature's truth that is free of preconception or idea.
다들 지금 당고들 상신 남진지 바랑사 조르스에 가서 공도 심하다 왔다 대외냥 사회냥 무도 그냥 샤인도 오버당나 공연 보고 요사래 냥들어 샤송선에 장고를 신다. 연주 상신 남진지 바디 장사죠. 제로만 진다 장사죠.
So the process of realization here is actually very closely related to what was described as the various thoughts of the experience before. We saw there were three thoughts. The first of that is that we have this longing for a state of bliss in our exercise, and when that happens, first of all we think, oh, that is really great, so this is very good. We evaluate it as positive, and secondly we try to hold on to that. So when that happens, now the first line in the verse of realization says, this clinging of taking the blissful state of our exercise for true and trying to hold on to it, this clinging does not have to be removed in an extra process. So we don't have to intentionally and with effort to remove this clinging. This longing and clinging, without the need to be removed, will collapse in its own place. It is self-liberated right there where it is.
근데 년도 출발랑신 인수 다스를 가서 년도서 년바세야지 출랑기 예수 남을 또 와서나 뒤에 또 봐. 그래서나 니들도 전통하는 주기. 뒤에는 년바스타니다. 되려면 년도 뒤라 체도 년보 때문에 빵 먹어 봐. 랑신지 마주 봐. 용맹하는 장발을 때네. 때네 년도 출발랑신기 인수 야왕 랑신지 인수 다.
The second line says, evil thoughts, concepts, the confusion itself is naturally pure in the open expanse of the natural state. What are evil thoughts? Evil thoughts are those who interact with confusion. When we are basically trapped in the idea that there is something really there, that we're already under the sway of our delusion, then any thinking process that further entertains this delusion serves as an obstacle to realize the basic nature. So it becomes another layer of mental obscuration that obscures the underlying clarity of mind. In that sense, are all thoughts that interact with the seeming world are evil thoughts. Now, what can we do about it? Do we have to remove them, eliminate them? No. There's no need to intentionally eliminate those bad thoughts because they're basically pure in the open expanse of natural being. Means when I maintain that awareness that rests naturally within itself, when I just maintain the natural flow of natural mind, then just doing that will automatically let collapse all those confused types of the process of thinking.
대인도다 상신도 또봐야 인수다. 내도기 내배 또봐야 인수다. 인도 디파 사체의 슈를 가른 타버려서나 타마지 시라 타버렸다.
So, what's happening when we have seen that all the thoughts that try to hold on to the positive state, that evaluate something as positive and want to hold on to that, are self-liberated. And all the evil thoughts that create further layer of obscurations are naturally pure in the open expanse. So all those thoughts, the good and the bad thoughts, have vanished in the open expanse of natural being. What then? What's left over? This is just normal mind, ordinary mind, or normal mind.
나대인도 지금 손바디 타마시바 방을 가도네. 근데 타마시 시바데가 근데 얘네 쪽을 치나 요즘 수사를 사도매가 대인도 대전에 전 방향 사람에 대인도 방랑 타도네. 방저 방배 타와야네. 남자 이부에 수토야네. 대인도 방랑 타도네.
So this normal mind, ordinary mind, natural mind, is free of anything to be added on or any stain to be removed. Everything is right there, complete and perfect. So that's why this line says, by adopting and rejecting, nothing to be obtained or removed. In fact, that's a normal process that we try to do. By adopting, we try to gain something positive, newly. And by abandoning, we try to remove something. So there's no further need here in the natural mind, in the normal mind, that anything by adoption has to be obtained, or anything by abandoning has to be removed.
这个概念，这个群义的嘛，到我说，这个他在那说的，这个他通常查的内容，群义的吧，俺说是的，他们这个也让些是有吧的，肯定能就到我说。
So the last line then says, in accordance with that, make the realization dawn of the truth of the genuine being, free of preconceptions and ideas, which also is called simplicity.
他的教育那边那个话，上个月的基础上他那弄成没法说，那边那都基础上他那很多没法说，上个月的接送人，要不接送上面，他那马家马接，那边弄多接送人，我打那边弄多接送，第二我马家人，就放在上面慢慢，可能当时我说，这正好是教育那边啥事情跟我，教那有，上个月的基础上他那弄成没法说，弄没事。 那边那都基础上可能很多没法说，那边那就接送是那边可能是机场说不定就马接送的。
So that's why in the practice of Chu, which is cutting through, also it is expressed in the famous verse saying like this: whatever happens there as positive thought, don't become proud about it. Don't develop pride. Whatever happens as evil thought, do not engage in fear. So whatever happens, good or bad thinking, neither a reason to become proud about nor to fear. This has been realization.
他怎么想的？他对生意，东营的收入那边生意现在，那可以。
Yeah. So maybe leave it for at this point for today. Without Fragen, questions?